Hi, I'm Ajina. Our study compares the dominant theoretical perspectives in order to understand the conflicts of media representation. As we all know, latest technologies have intensified the media conception as well as content creation. In this era of explosion of information, the scope of media maintaining the democratic consciousness by promoting political dialogue is immense. So here it invokes the importance of assessment of any social political dialogue while consuming the media messages beyond a mere perception is very important, especially in this age of fake news, misinformation and disinformation. Here we should understand what is a social conflict. How to define a social conflict? Any purposeful interaction with the society can be termed as a social conflict. Dyadic media constructs social conflicts at different levels. As a structure, it acts as a political and social institution. As an agency, it promotes a dialogue between government and public. As a creator, it informs suppressions and inequalities. As a destroyer, it can misinform the values and needs of a conflict, or it can avoid unnecessary violence by providing constructive criticism. It can support by providing the multiple perspectives objectively, or it can oppose by misinterpreting the needs of a social conflict. So here, this research aims to analyze the conflict as the struggles of representation and identity, and it also strives to suggest a theoretical framework for supporting any media audience in assessing the complementary factors of social conflicts. So let's understand representation and identity. According to Stuart Hall, any production of meaning of the concepts in our minds through language is representation. Representation also can be constructed images transmitting ideological meanings. We should note that dominant groups control representation in the society and the struggles over identity building. As Stuart Hall explains in his essay, an identity are made in a specific moment through the process of identification. So identity is simply what we tell them ourselves and how we locate ourselves in the society. And identities are multiple and overlapping according to the context. So here we select any theoretical frameworks. What do theoretical framework do? They ask epistemological and political questions in order to help finding solutions. All major social conflict theories conceptualizes the collective action, mobilization and participation. So it talks about dynamics of conflicts, magnitude and scope, duration, conflict regulation, and especially the consequences of conflicts. From a wide, extensive review of literatures, the researchers have identified awareness about the conflict, participation of conflicting groups, whether it creates a social change as a complementary factors that affecting any social change in the society. Here in this study, the researchers chosen a recent conflict that happened in India and collected 20 electronic news reports purposely. At the same time, we have chosen 5 dominant theoretical perspectives and conducted content analysis against these news reports by applying these theoretical frameworks. We have chosen CAA protest because Citizenship Amendment Bill was introduced in the Parliament in December 10th and it got passed and it became an act, and the protesters were both anti-CAA and pro-CAA. Protesters started from northeastern parts of India and it spread across India. And major higher education institution in India, such as JNU and JMI, participated as anti-CAA protesters. This protest concerned with the national identity and Indian constitution. To understand this protest more, we should understand the more tweets that happened during this protest. So here are some tweets. that the researchers collected. From this tweets, we could understand and conclude that there were students who were struggling for the right to protest. There were indigenous peoples of northeastern states who were struggling to protect their identity. And this questioned the freedom of expression by shutting down the internet in many parts of the country. And we should also note that the Prime Minister of India iteratively affirmed that this act won't affect any Indian citizen. So we should understand what is the main characteristics of CAA protest on the context of representation and identity. It emerged from a specific territory and flourished as a minority issue, and it fueled the debates over us and them. There was a stratification happened between the governing and the governed, and there were many demands of the specific groups, and there were demands of recognition, and media consumers were provided with both the supporting and opposing news reports. They were confused about the Citizenship Amendment Act. So this study actually gives a comparative analysis between various frameworks, uh, through which an audience could understand any social conflict such as CAA protest. So first model is minority-majority conflict put forwarded by Dr. Stanley Edison, and there were the postulates were concerned about the power relation, conflict, and social change. And this model did not have any enough evidence to confirm any social change that happened in this protest. Next model was recognition model put forward by Rosalie C. Maria, and the postulates of this theory was talking about the particular needs of a conflict groups, equal respect and autonomy, and unique contribution of a conflict group. But this model only concerned with the protesting group, not the other part of the conflict. Next model was audience reception, and the main postulates of this theory, according to Stuart Hall, we have chosen the factors of dominant reading, oppositional reading, and negotiated reading. And in this part, there were many reports that covered both the only the dominant reading. There were reports covering only the oppositional reading, and there were also reports such as one report from CNN were talking about what is the Citizenship Amendment Act. They included the factors such as what you should know, what is fueling the protest, and like that. The next model was critical media literacy model, and the postulates of this theoretical framework: non-transparency, codes and conventions, audience decoding, content and message of this news reports, and motivation that led to the creation of this media message was analyzed and identified the major complementing factors. And the questions we have answered from the study was whether this conflict happened between majority and minority groups. Yes, minority issues leads to the protest, and it was against the ruling party, but we cannot say that the protest was merely from a minority group. No, it included the vast public of this country, including the students, women, and LGBTQ. And what were the complementing factors for the widespread of the protest? That it was representation and identity. So, by analyzing the awareness, we could conclude that critical media literacy and majority-minority conflict model have providing much more flexible platform for understanding the awareness about the conflict. To understand the scope of the protest, majority-minority conflict model and audience reception model gives much more flexible platform in order to understand the possible outcome, which was very important for a public. Critical media literacy was the adequate theoretical framework to give informations about the possible outcome within the structure it provides. So we are concluding that Critical media literacy is a holistic approach as it understands the identity created by the representation of different culture, language, heritage. It also leads us to understand the range of communication outlets, and it understands the politics of representation, and it also incorporates the production of media messages through alternate media, and the audience will able to understand the social context, control and pleasure of any media messages that is happening. So in this present area, in this present context where we are living, all the audience must be critically media literate, because they should understand what is happening, any socio-political issues, because it is through which their representation and identity is created. So we are the resistance. That is our study. I'm open to your questions. Thank you for this opportunity.